Hey guys, today we're gonna finish watching Houston High Speed Chase, March 20th, 2015. If we can finish it on time, we'll have 25 minutes. Okay, let's watch now.
He finds those, then we're ratcheting this thing up quite a bit more. It's already a tough, tense situation as it is, but you wonder.
They're having to bring family pets out of that home before they can send in the deputies' canine units. This is the 4500 block of Algernon. The 4500 block of Algernon, if you're familiar with this area in North Harris County. Deputies have the home surrounded. We know the suspect is still inside this house. Right now, we're just basically watching to see how this whole thing plays out. They had to bring all of the family's pets out of the house before they could send in those canine units.
Yeah, the vehicle chase part of this ended about 5 minutes ago, but then the armed robbery suspect, the male that we saw, he jumped out of his vehicle, got through or got over a fence somehow. He was running between homes, and then he ran into a front yard of this home at the 4500 block of Algernon, and there was a woman who was outside. He ran into that home, and now we were looking at a standoff, and as Lauren just said, the officers have their canine units, but they've had to get the other pets out of the home before they could send in their own canine units. And so, this has gone from a high-speed chase that lasted close to an hour, and now we were in standoff mode.
Okay,
that
lasted.
We don't know exactly where the suspect
45
is
minutes,
in this home, but we've
45
seen
minutes
multiple deputies go into the house.
45 minutes.
And more family members, at least two more, from what I could tell, came out of that house after the suspect ran in there.
Take him into custody.
Right now, it looks like the homeowner's talking to deputies there. Certainly, we can understand that she would be terrified in this situation.
Yeah, well, she obviously was when he ran into that front yard, because you could see her throw her hands up in the air, and even from the distance from the helicopter, you could see that she was screaming and she was terrified.
Once again, multiple deputies there in that house, presumably with that suspect. They have, right now, let's see, what do they have going on there?
Yeah, they are with someone who is not a law enforcement officer, but that does not appear to be the suspect. Could be a plainclothes officer, for all we know, but no, those look like individuals.
It looks like the homeowner's going
back in the house
with the deputies.
So we're trying to ascertain exactly what's going on inside. We don't know if this person, this armed robbery suspect, has been taken into custody, if he's locked himself into one of these rooms.
Or maybe familiar with this house or with this area, potentially. And
yeah, we hope and pray that no one else is in there with him. And there were individuals who walked out after he came in the house. And again, that's a good point, Lauren. He could know this house. He could know this home, and maybe he ran to a home of relatives, and they're going to try to coax him out. But officers and other individuals are going in and out of that house fairly casually, all things considered.
They appear to be escorting someone else out of that house, though. We certainly don't know who that is or what's going on with that situation, but we do know that there is a suspect still in that home, the armed robbery suspect that caused the chase we've been watching for the last hour, still in that home. And we've seen multiple deputies go into that house, both from the front and back. The homeowner, or the woman who presumably lives there, just also went in with those deputies.
Right, and all this is taking place, as you can see, on Algernon, the 4500 block of Algernon near Newgate Drive in Spring. It was a high-speed chase, a very reckless high-speed chase that got up to speeds of 85 miles an hour that took place mainly in northeast Harris County, the Spring area, and we've ended up here. We've been here now for about 10 minutes, going on 10 minutes after the driver that was leading the high-speed chase, an armed robbery suspect, jumped out of the vehicle, drove in someone's yard, jumped out of the vehicle, over a fence, and then ran into
pulled apart that fence. I think that's what we're hearing now.
So he
get over it. He had to pull it apart.
He went through the fence. Yeah, right. So he went through the fence, and then he ran into the front yard of this home that you see here on the 4500 block of Algernon, and he's now inside that house. The officers have been able to get out several people, and they've brought in also animals as well, pets, and they brought in one or two canines as well, and so they had to bring out the animals before they allowed the canines to go inside, and so we're trying to figure out exactly what's taking place on the inside of this home right now. But you can imagine it must be a very tense situation with the deputies and the dogs and this suspect who has shown over the last hour and some change that he did not want to be taken in peacefully.
And multiple family members there, what appear to be family members, talking with deputies there just behind that vehicle that's parked in the driveway there. Once again, this is the 4500 block of Algernon and Newgate Drive, to kind of give you some coordinates there about where this is all happening. The chase is ended. Now we see several deputies' vehicles there on the scene. Multiple deputies have gone inside that house, albeit, Keith, they went in pretty calmly, it appeared.
They did, yeah.
All things considered.
And a few residents had walked out initially, but several of them have gone back inside as well with deputies.
And they brought out the family pets from inside that home so that the deputies could send in the canine units. We did see that they had brought in a dog as well.
And so we are waiting, just as all of you are, to see exactly when and how this is all going to end. And we've just now gotten word that he is in custody. He is in custody inside this home at the 4500 block of Algernon. We don't know exactly how that took place, don't know what role the canines played in that, but we are getting word that this armed robbery suspect that led police on a chase for nearly an hour, and now almost a 10-minute standoff inside this home.
10 minutes
he is in custody now. And we see the garage door opening up.
We don't know if they're going to bring him out there through the garage door. We don't know if that's where he was taken into custody or what, but at this point it appears that they do have the suspect in custody. Deputies walking calmly there, as you can see. So obviously they feel like the threat has passed as they presumably lead this suspect out and put him in one of the deputy cars.
Well, and, so many people, so many of us, and especially
now we see the suspect there. What appears to be the suspect being
he's being walked out. Yes. So this is the armed robbery suspect who took police on this wild high-speed chase for close to an hour, and then ran into a home in a residential area on the 4500 block of Algernon and had a brief standoff inside, or he ran inside and it took police and a couple of canines to go in and get him out. But a big sigh of relief, because for the last the 45 minutes or so he was on the roadway, I mean, he drove so recklessly and dangerously, and it could have been so bad. This could have been much worse than it turned out to be, and so now he is finally, thankfully, in custody.
Well, yes, Spring ISD. There we have our live picture there on the ground there of the suspect being loaded into deputies' cars. We had Spring ISD on lockdown because the suspect was weaving in and out so close to multiple schools. He went past Spring High School at one point, flying by. The speeds in this chase reached very, very high levels, around 85 to 90 miles per hour at one point. He was going 60 miles per hour through one residential area at one point.
That's right, yeah, and driving against traffic on a number of occasions. The officers at least 2 times tried to deploy spike strips, and he was able to weave around those and avoid that, and that's how he wound up in this neighborhood, and was able to jump out and break through a fence. Mm-hmm. He looks to be a pretty sturdy individual, so he was able to use that.
He broke through the fence.
He broke through a fence and was able to run into someone's home and take someone by surprise. The woman who was there in that front yard was terrified.
Yeah, you see our crews there on the scene, Joel Eisenbaum there on the scene, talking with the deputies, trying to get some more information about, really now the big question is what happened and what all played out inside that home. And I'm just curious if the suspect was familiar with that home, familiar with this area. There was a reason he stayed in this area, because he did meander all through basically the Spring area, at one point over near Bush Airport. But he stayed in that same vicinity. I mean, he really didn't stray from there.
He did, and then apart from the woman in the yard, who obviously was very terrified, after officers got there and they went inside and they brought 1 or 2 individuals out and they brought the animals out, things seemed to get fairly calm.
Right.
And right now, Joel Eisenbaum is talking to folks who are on scene right now. Are we able to take his audio?
You didn't hear
Okay.
this yet?
Try and get his audio and try and hear.
This is video from the chase earlier. Again, a chase that lasted close to an hour. You can see him just driving on the wrong side of the road. Yeah.
Buses. I mean, this was one of the more concerning, scary parts of the chase, that he was driving past school bus after school bus, presumably full of kids at this time of day.
Yeah. This was all, it all started about 2:15, and this portion of the chase was, 2:45, a quarter till almost 3 o'clock. And he weaved his way through a number of neighborhoods, main roads, up and down, different directions, a lot of different U-turns. But again, we can thankfully say that he has been brought into custody, and at this point, it doesn't appear that anyone was injured because of his actions.
Right, that's the important part. Again, he was a suspect who was fleeing from deputies for armed robbery. Presumably, those charges are going to be upgraded, considering that he ran from police officers for roughly an hour, then ran into a home. So we'll have to wait and see what charges indeed do come out of this.
You always wonder how it's going to end. You never know. Obviously, the spikes strips didn't work.
In this case.
He avoided those twice. He also, thankfully, didn't end in an accident because that was such a
and he was going through
possibility.
Intersection after intersection, full of traffic. There you see him coming upon one intersection, and he would just go through those like it was nothing. And I mean, that could have very easily gone a different way and ended in tragedy. And he was driving the wrong way multiple times on Cypresswood Drive.
Yeah, and there were several times toward the end of the chase. We don't know if people were listening on radio or they were getting phone calls from folks who were watching on TV.
And seeing and hearing all the sirens and helicopters in the sky.
Right.
Okay, thanks for watching.
At some point, it looked like there were a couple of drivers who actually, tried to get in his way and slow him down and help out authorities who were in this chase. But he was successfully able to weave around them as well. And so, we don't know exactly what made him stop. Unless he saw he was running low on gas. That's avoiding some spike strips right there. We don't know if he got low on gas or he just got tired of the chase. But that's the second time.
Here are spike strips there.
Yeah, flying through a parking lot.
Going through, some parking lots where he was trying to lose deputies there. All right, Joel's there on the scene. Hey, Joel, can you hear us?
Joel, we know you're there on the ground. You just got there. You're getting information. Have you been able to talk to authorities? And we saw you talk to one of the residents there. What are they saying there on the ground, if you can hear us?
Boy, this is a real fluid situation, and I'm sorry I can't hear you that well, Keith, but you can see they're talking to the guy. I mean, this is steps behind me. They're pushing us back just a little bit. This is the suspect that led us on that wild chase the last 30, 45 minutes and then broke through. Alan, let's move back just a little bit over here, just real quick to show him where he came through. It was right behind this house. He kicked down that fence, according to a neighbor, came ripping down here and was inside that house right there. It took him just a few minutes. They pulled him out of there. I mean, there was an army of guys. I'm not sure if you guys took that live or not. There was an army of Precinct 4 deputy constables that pulled that guy essentially out of that house. Little guy, too. I mean, a tough little guy, I'm sure, but the guy was probably maybe 5 feet, if that, now in the back of that car, was firing some questions off at him in terms of why he did it, why he was driving like that, what he was trying to accomplish, and he was non-responsive. I mean, you could tell that he'd been through something fairly traumatic, but boy, I would say that's a pretty good end to what was certainly a wild 45 minutes. And they're putting up the police line now officially right here as we get on the other side of it. Let's get our bearings real quickly. There's a lot of stuff going on. They're pushing us back just a little bit. We'll get right back to you guys if that's all right.
Okay. All right, Joel, thank you so much for giving us a look there on the ground. But again, as Joel said, thank goodness for a 45-minute chase and a short standoff. It ended peacefully.
Yeah, thankfully. We'll have much more for you coming up at 4 o'clock, and also you can find more at click2houston.com as well.
This has been a breaking news alert from KPRC Channel 2. For continuing coverage, log on to click2houston.com. KPRC Channel 2 now joins our regularly scheduled program, already in progress.
This one.
Channel 2 News begins right now with
you're
a
watching my
breaking
blue
news
map?
alert.
The blue map.
Breaking news coming to us from Spring, where an hour-long high-speed chase ended with the driver bailing from his truck and running into a home. That's where he was arrested. We saw it unfold live right here on Channel 2 and at click2houston.com.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Keith Cartman.
And I'm Lauren Freeman. That chase lasted for more than an hour. It began in the area of FM 1960 in the Spring area. The driver of a white pickup truck believed to be connected to a car burglary refusing to pull over. weaving dangerously tight between other cars and trucks on the roads.
At one point, the truck driver went into the opposite lanes of traffic, many points, in fact. Watch as he meanders on the wrong lanes, coming dangerously close to school bus after school bus. And at one point, several buses tried to avoid the pickup truck.
And the chase would continue until he ditched the truck in a neighborhood and then started running. After hopping a fence, he managed to run into an occupied home. Several people and even pets were brought out by officers as they searched for that man.
And finally, the culmination of hard work by law enforcement. After nearly an hour, the man is brought out of the garage and is taken into custody. Our cameras capture the first images of the man being placed into handcuffs. And that chase even forced schools in the area into lockdown.
Our Sion Rhodes is covering that angle, but we start right now with our Joel Eisenbaum, who was on the scene when this man was taken into custody. Joel?
Yeah, it was, Lauren. That's right. We were the first on the ground. Want to go through real quickly. This man was just recently identified as 41-year-old Nemesio Magatna, we believe, of the Houston area, 41 years old again, now being held on several charges, I believe, just taken from the scene in one of these cars. What they've left behind for the moment is, Alan, let's show him right behind me. That is a shotgun. To me, it appears to be a short shotgun, as in it may have a sawed-off barrel, which is, of course, illegal. One of two weapons this guy had on him, I'm told by deputy constables with Precinct 4 here in Harris County. He came ripping around about 45 minutes ago from behind this house where he had broken through a fence. And then, Alan, let's just show the corner, just so we have our bearings. He went into that house where you see that man wearing that purple bathrobe. The family was outside at the time. I understand the man was trying to hide up in the attic. They eventually pulled him out. And again, we were the only ones on the ground when they did that. Here's what it looked like.
Sir, why were you driving like that on those streets? You know how many people you put in danger, sir? Why were you driving like that?
So this was really quite the scene. In fact, it was a wild afternoon up here in the area of Cypress Wood and Treshwick. This was about 45, 50, 55 minutes with this chase of this pickup truck. This guy did some pretty fancy driving, truth be told. He came close to injuring several people, no doubt about that, sideswiping a school bus, or just about. He managed to avoid two pairs of, or I should say two spike strips, and then he finally made his way into this neighborhood. We're on Algernon Street here, just sort of a regular suburban neighborhood, where he bailed out of that truck, came through a fence and into that family's house. A neighbor right across the street saw everything happen. He described it for us.
I came out, I was watching everything on TV, obviously, on KPRC, and I came out because I knew the area, I saw it all. I came out, right as I came out to my fence right there, he was kicking through right there. You see the hole in the fence back there.
Yeah, he put a good hole in that fence.
He kicked through it. I watched him kick through it, came out, started to head this way by this tree, and then cut straight across, like he knew right where he was going. He knew where the house was.
Added up pretty amazing, really, that nobody was hurt and no real substantial property damage. And keep in mind, this guy, according to deputy constables, had two guns on him, including a nasty-looking shotgun that is right now sitting on the back of that squad car. In custody, 41-year-old Nemesio Magatna, originally wanted on burglary of motor vehicle charges from the Harris County Sheriff's Office. Now a few more charges tacked onto that. We're live in the Spring area. I'm Joel Eisenbaum, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
All right, good job today, Joel. Thank you. That chase had all Spring ISD schools on lockdown.
We're talking more than 36,000 students. Our team coverage continues with Channel 2 Sion Roads, live at Mildred Jenkins Elementary in Spring, where that lockdown was just lifted. Sion.
That's right. Normally, school dismisses here at Mildred Jenkins about 3:15, but up until about 5 minutes ago, this street here, Reynaldo Drive, was packed with cars, parents just now being able to get to their kids, and of course, the bus riders just now getting on those buses. As you said, a very dangerous chase this afternoon with that driver narrowly missing several school buses as he was trying to flee from authorities. And at one point, this chase went right by this elementary school. I want to bring you back live now and introduce you to Jacob. He's a fourth grader here at Jenkins Elementary. And Jacob, you told me you were outside when you saw what happened.
Yes, I was, and as I saw this chase from by, there was this gold, silver, bronze truck that just came zooming by, and then right behind it was a swarm of police cars, and then we were just evacuated into the building and on lockdown until a couple of minutes ago.
And what did you tell your friends? You said you had some advice for them.
I told them that you just need to stay calm and just line up and get inside.
All right, and when I bring in now Alicia, now you're a mom to two students here. What was going through your mind when you first heard about this?
I was terrified. I mean, I was taking a shower. My brother called me and said, turn the news on. There's a chase in your neighborhood. I don't even know if I washed my hair right. It just hopped out.
And you were trying to get to the kids.
I was.
Did the school contact you? How did they let you know what was going on?
I caught up here before they sent the call out for everyone to give them a notice that would happen. And so I called the school to confirm, and they said, yeah, it was on lockdown. And I was scared. I was having a panic attack. I just wanted to get my babies. It was bad.
And you were finally able to get them in. And we're just now learning that man had 2 guns in his truck, and this chase coming right by their school. How does that make you feel?
Well, I didn't know that till now, and that's very scary. It's extremely scary, especially being by a school and not too far from it's bad.
All right. Well, thank you. We're glad everyone is safe. Jacob, thank you so much. You guys have a great afternoon. So this is now the lockdown has been lifted. All clear here at Jenkins Elementary and all of the Spring ISD schools. Back to you.
All right, Sion, thank you. So glad everyone is safe and sound after that crazy chase. And you can see that chase video again on ct2houston.com. Just look under the hot button and stay tuned for another live report coming up at 5. And we're following more breaking news involving the
Investigations. Live from KPRC, this is Channel 2 News at 5.
An hour of fear. A man leads deputies on a chase that puts drivers and nearby school children in danger.
Why'd you lead everybody on that chase, sir?
Why that man chose this house to try and hide.
Plus, authorities spot a man they think is smoking pot, but questioning him did not go as planned. How 3 deputies ended up injured before he was taken into custody.
And SWAT team on the move, going after a man accused of kidnapping his ex. How officers finally put an end to this tense situation. Very busy news day today. We're going to begin with that chase we showed you live on the air and on ct2houston.com. Tense moments when a man led deputies in a long chase. Lauren covered this afternoon that even put a school district on lockdown. I'm Bill Biessa.
And I'm Lauren Freeman. That driver is now behind bars, but it was not easy for deputies to catch him. This all started before 2:30, and at around 2:38, you see the driver of the pickup truck on the left going the wrong way on FM 1960, even swerving around school buses in that area. Less than 10 minutes later, he narrowly misses more school buses. This time he's going the right way, but still trying to get away from deputies. Then at around 3:09, the guy gets out of the truck and begins to run off, eventually making his way inside that house. About 10 minutes later, at 3:20, deputies went inside the house and arrested the man. Channel 2's Joel Eisenbaum is right now next to the constable car, and the deputies pushed that suspect inside. So, Joel, I know you're hearing that the suspect knew the person living in the house very well.
Just a minute, 651 or 653.
Lord, yeah,
We
you're
go
right. Police
653.
source here at the scene says the suspect's girlfriend lives in that house right over my shoulder here. It's the same house where this suspect ended up at the end of this chase. And I think really she was as surprised as anyone else that he ended up here. And it turns out he could only stay for a short while. Why'd you do that? Why'd you lead everybody on that chase, sir? His name, according to deputies, is Nemesio Magatna, 41 years old, and before this afternoon's wild chase, already wanted for breaking into cars, according to the constable.